All right, today we are going to continue our conversation about decimals and fractions and where they come on a number line. So we're going to come down here. Yesterday we used a pan of lasagna that was cut into equal pieces and then discussed, hundredths and tenths and things like that. Today we are going to continue that, only we're going to get smaller. So here is a place value chart that goes from the 10,000s to the 10,000ths, which would be 1/10,000th of a whole. So here's the fraction name for it. Here's the decimal names for those place value groups. And then here's the word names. So often it's useful to divide a whole into more than 100 pieces. When working with decimals, you can always divide a whole into smaller pieces, but you can always use a divisor that is a power of 10. For example, you made a 10 strip in investigation 1, you can fold that and mark it into a hundredth. Similarly, we use those grids in problem 3.3, and so now we can divide each part of the hundreds grid into 10 pieces right here, like what it's shown, and that gives us 1,000. So if we divided each hundredth into 1,000, essentially saying that 100th divided by 10 is going to equal 1,000th. Okay? All right, so let's move forward. Again, we can do that if we divide each part of 1,000th, so 1,000th, we divide that into 10, we would get 1/10,000th. Okay? And so that would be like a little hundreds grid inside of every hundred. So that's a hundredths grid divided by 100 would equal 1/10,000th as well. All right. So let's go down here and talk about problem A1 and A2. Tomorrow before coming to class you will need to do A3, and so you might need to watch the video a few times just to make sure that you understand what's going on. All right, so let's take a look here. Use the number line and the tenth strip. Which points, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 can we determine and name using the tenths? Well, if we use the number line, don't have anything here. We do have 2/4 that lines up with a tenth. So the fraction of 2/4 would be equal to our 5 or 5/10ths. And then we would have 4/4 down here that would be equal to 1.0 or 10/10ths or 1. All right, but if we use the hundredths strip right below it and I'm going to use my line tool real quick. Okay, and we'll change the color of that to, let's go with blue. If I use my line tool and I draw a line down here, okay, I can see if I do that with all of mine over here for 100th and 100th and then 4/4. Well, I'm a little off there, but I'll scoot it over. There we go. Scoot it over. All right. I can see that 1/4 on the hundreds would equal, it's halfway between 20 and 30, so that would be 25 hundredths, which would equal the decimal 0.25. I also have 2/4, which would equal 50 hundredths, or 0.5. And I also could say that 3/4 would equal 0.75, or 75 hundredths. Okay, and I can tell that because this line comes between the 7 and the 8, halfway between that. And then we had 4/4, which again would equal 1 or 100 hundredths. Okay, so this is how we make equivalent fractions. Essentially what we want to do is to turn the denominator, okay, so like 1/4, if I think about this mathematically, I want to turn it into a 10 or 100 or 1,000 or a multiple of 10 to get it into a decimal. So 4 does not go into 10, but it does go into 100. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, 4 times what equals 100? Well, 4 times 25 equals 100. So for my numerator, I would multiply it by 25, and I wind up with 25 hundredths right here, and then I can make my decimal from that as 25 hundredths. Okay? All right, so go ahead and rewatch this if you need to. Making equivalent fractions is all about turning the denominator into a power of 10 and then converting your numerator the same way you converted your denominator.